Um, hey, for those of you who haven't been on a VBS call in 2023, welcome. I both love and hate it that because I have a free, um, what's this thing called? Zoom account. All the calls have to be under 45 minutes, which is great because we've got a time limit. And so we're gonna fly through some things, and you guys get to be the designated question askers. And so as we finish each agenda item, um, let me know if you have any questions. And so y'all, it is 7 weeks. We are 7 weeks. If you're doing that first run of VBS, you're 7 weeks out from VBS. Anywhere else, wherever, however far back you are from that 12th to 15th date, you are then that many more weeks out. So let's run through some things real quick. Number one, just reminder. The reminder is keep pursuing directors and coordinators. If you're 7 weeks out, you should probably have all your coordinators on board. If not, you should feel a little bit behind and you should hustle to get that done. Just because you'll see later on that the next thing is we're going to start distributing packets, which means you can start getting that in the hands of your different folks, to make sure that they have the information that they need so they can get started on their part of the work. A review from last week, you can see this on the agenda document if you want to pull it up. But we've got a VBS directory from Creative that shows all the stuff that they have coming, that they've already produced. All the VBS promotional print items are up in Mark. We're going to start they're going to start working on now all the actual print material for the actual event, and that'll be coming up next. And then if you haven't seen the VBS environments draft, which is now pretty final, it's also in the agenda document to look at. Here's the important information for this week is y'all, Dairy Queen has once again agreed to provide hamburgers one night for every single VBS and hot dogs for one night for every single VBS. And so they'll provide the meat and the buns as well as like some condiment packets. And so, guys, that's a huge blessing from that ownership group. And again, the crazy thing is just to kind of speak of their generosity. Like they don't even let us give them a receipt, so they get no tax benefits, no breaks. They just get favor from the Lord. And so Bernie is working on the details. We're not going to collect numbers centrally. We're going to put you in contact with the actual store so that you can arrange and organize pickups and all of that with the store owners. And so anybody have any questions about Dairy Queen and our relationship with them again this year? Okie dokie.
That's so awesome that they're doing that again for the second year.
Agreed. It's going to be great. Hey, I would highly, you know what? Let me share my screen just so that anybody who's on, actually, I'm going to let you pull up the agenda document. If you need to put Zoom in the background, go ahead and pull up the agenda document and go ahead and click into the Ministry Safe Sprint. Guys, Ministry Safe is one of the biggest pieces of our VBS, simply because we want to make sure that VBS is a safe environment. So I want to go over what that looks like this year, and then some tricks and hacks that help get it done. And so go ahead and pull it up. So the ministry safe steps, there is 0 modification for VBS this year. What that means is it means that we have to do every step with every person. So that means the full application. That means that they have to have 2 references finished and approved. It means that they have to watch the sexual abuse awareness training. It means they have to go through a full ministry safe interview. And honestly, y'all, last year I think we removed like 4 or 5 questions from it, and so it doesn't save a whole lot of time. And then also a background check. So if they're a minor, if they are 15 and under, what that means is that they don't have to watch the regular sexual abuse awareness training. They have to watch a modified version, which is just a little less in your face and shocking. And then there's a different interview for 15 and under. Once they hit 16, it is the regular process, except they can't do a background check until 18. And so again, if you've done ministry safe at all, you're familiar with the process. It's just this is the first year where, as we've interacted with HR, as we've interacted with the ministry safe group, we've kind of landed that the best process moving forward is just to get all the steps done. And I know that that's a challenge, and so I just want to stop right there and see if there are any questions before I kind of go through my tips, tricks, and hacks. Anybody got any questions? Okay. Anybody who's on the call, I want to make this a interactive one since there's a number of you on. Anybody want to guess what my number 1 tip and trick and hack is? It's not on the sheet, actually. It's even more important than what's on the sheet. Anybody want to guess?
Is it start early?
Ha! Start early. That's just assumed. But that would be a great thing. This is even more important than start early. Because even if you haven't started early, if you'll start with my number 1, it will actually help you a lot. Anybody want to guess? Whatever your favorite word for thieving is, whether it's bogart, kiping, whatever it is, steal from other ministries' rosters. Because here's the deal. If somebody is serving in Little Life, with youth middle, or youth high school, they should have already gone through the ministry safe process. And so if you start by recruiting members of all 3 of those rosters, hopefully you have just cut down the amount of work you have to get everybody through. And so I would literally ask, hey, can I send, my Little Life pastor, hey, can I send an invitation to all your volunteers to serve in Kid Life? Hey, youth middle person, can I send an email or a text to all your volunteers inviting them to serve at VBS? Hey, youth high school person, can I send a text message to all your volunteers and ask them to serve? Can you encourage them to serve at VBS? Because if they get in, those are people I don't have to get through the ministry safe process. So again, start with the existing rosters, with the people who are already there. Go back to your VBS roster from last year and make sure you personally invite every single person that served with you last year, unless they did a horrible job, and then don't do it. But for the most part, because those folks are already cleared, and so the more you can get people who have already been cleared, then the less people you have to do. But we always want new people, and so how do you get them through? So number 1 is you can see on the Ministry Safe Sprint doc that we have printed forms of the application and the references. I have cleared it with HR that print versions of those 2 documents are accepted. And so when you have your first interest meeting, go ahead and give them a copy of the application. Go ahead and tell them, hey, if you don't have anywhere to be and you know you're going to serve at VBS, will you take 15 minutes and quickly and briefly answer all these questions? Then, hey, give them 2 copies of the reference if you have people in this room that have known you for longer than a year. can you go ask them to fill out a reference? So by the time they leave your first meeting, you can have them finished with the application piece and the reference piece. Once they turn those in, now you send them the sexual abuse awareness training and you have them do it. Secondly, you schedule an interview. And so I'm just going to tell you, if you can get those first two pieces done within print version, it's going to make it so much quicker to get all the other pieces done. Here's the other thing is that at your work nights, at your meetings that follow up that first meeting, if they don't have that checkbox of they've watched the sexual abuse awareness training and they've completed the quiz, then I would have, if they haven't done that, then their job at that work night is to watch that training. So basically you set up a viewing party, set up somebody's laptop and have them watch it. And then all they have to do is scroll down to the bottom, click that, take the quiz button and go take the test on their link, because they have to take the quiz on their link. So that's another way to make sure they get that check mark. Because at that point, you've knocked out application, you've knocked out references, and you've knocked out the training videos all during when they're with the group at the meetings. That means you're chasing them because you have to still have to chase them for background checks and to get interviews scheduled. Here's the other thing. At this point in the game, I'm just going to tell you a little secret. I don't remember the last time I did an in-person interview for Ministry Center. All my interviews these days are over Zoom. I can still watch their body language. We can still have a conversation. I can still check their answers based upon their application to the way they answer in the interview. What that means is I don't have to go to them. They don't have to come to me. It's easier for them. It's easier for me. And so then that's the thing. I'm going to pause there, and then I'm going to give you a few more things. Any questions so far just about doing some paper versions of things? Because then what you're going to do is you're going to scan in or take pictures of those applications and send them to Logan. I'll put her contact info in the agenda after this. And she'll add that information to people's profiles for you so that she gets to check the box. Because if we check the box, the check will get removed, but she is kind of the ministry safe czar. And so if she adds the check mark, it stays there. So any questions so far about not changing the process, but just trying to speed it up? Okie dokie. Here's the other thing is you need a volunteer, or you need to play the role as the Kid Life Pastor. If you're the VBS director but not the Kid Life Pastor, this does not need to be your job. If you don't find a volunteer to do it, you're going to have to be the one who basically you're going to be texting people nonstop during the month of May to make sure they get their stuff done for VBS. Because somebody needs to have that role where they're checking ministry safe and they're texting people, letting people know what pieces they still need to get done. And so just make sure that somebody has that job. So that's the ministry safe sprint. And again, it's so crucial to what we do because it ensures that VBS is a safe space. And across the state, security teams, the protocols they now go through include a ministry safe interview and watching these sexual abuse awareness trainings. So your security folks, if they go through the statewide procedure, they should already be ministry safe approved. And so that's the new info, Dairy Queen, and man, let's get started on ministry safe. Any questions right now, or we'll talk about what's coming?
Kevin, did you say that's new for security, that they're making them go through that?
I believe it's about a year old. I think that it
Okay.
kind of got started with the kind of the last VBS run, because we were having to basically go through and do this with all of security, even though they had already been through this huge. I mean, like the number of hoops that our security folks have to jump through these days is even crazier than ministry safe.
Yeah, that has kind of always been our question. And then we've had some that were like police officers and stuff that had asked, do I have to go through this? And so it's kind of one of those where we weren't really sure how to answer. So as soon, because I also heard our campus admin saying they were processing everyone through that. So that would also be a group that we really probably don't really have to focus on, because that is something the security team is taking care of.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, I believe so. I know they're going through it because I'm the only guy at West Little Rock that really does ministry safe interviews, and so I've had to do all the new security guys. I've had to do that. Any other ministry safe questions? Just real quick, does everybody understand why this is important? And again, I recognize the amount of work it is for all our teams across the state. But does everybody have any questions or not understand why it's important? Okay. Good. All right. Well, guys, here's what's coming in the next 2 weeks. Is basically all of the packets. Right? So if you don't have your directors in place, make this your sprint. Let's sprint to get everybody assigned. Because by next week we should have the stage packet to you, which again talks about the flow, and again the core is already out there, but talks about like what MCs are going to be like, and should have all the messages included. And all of that. We'll also get all the worship songs to you, and then we'll include links to those that we'll add as we get lyric videos and training videos and all of that. New for this year is we will get you a small group packet. Just to quickly review, if you're doing the VBS as it's written, then it's going to look very different. I say very different. It's going to look different this year. And the way it's going to look different is that when parents drop off, they're not going to drop off into your auditorium area. It might be in the auditorium area, but they are going to drop off to a small group. So if they have multiple ages, they might have to drop off in multiple areas in the building. But they need to drop off because that's also where they're going to pick up. And as they drop off, there's going to be they're going to connect, review, and game is going to be the first. That's the goal of the first small group time together. Is the leader? You're going to need a small group leader for about every 10 kids. You don't need 2 small group leaders because there's going to be lots of small groups in a large area. And so you also need to be thinking about how many drop-off areas you're going to have. So in West Little Rock, we're splitting it down the middle. And so, hey, look, and Kelsey and I are wearing the West Little Rock VBS colors. We're going to have yellow team and blue team. And yellow team is going to be our 1st and 2nd graders. And blue team is going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, and any interested 6th graders. And all those will be divided into small groups. And they won't have guys small groups and girls small groups. I think all our small groups are going to be mixed. And so when they arrive, there's going to be questions that just allow us to get to know them, to connect with them. We'll review the night 2 and 3. We'll review what we've learned in the past. But then every night we're going to play a game in that small group context. And then that small group game, each small group will contribute their champion on stage for the small group showdown during the main session. So when they come into the main session, you'll walk in and there'll be a countdown going We'll go right into worship. We'll do all the normal things, just have some fun with them, rules and strikes, main point, memory verse. And then when game time hits, it is send up your champion. And as they send up their champion, those folks will compete in that game to see which small group is the best small group that night and get another shot the next day. We'll do our teaching elements with bumper videos and then live teaching, followed up by either a testimony video. Testimonies are going to be a big deal this year, or a live testimony. And then that will wrap up with response and worship. And that's when the altar call will happen. If a kid wants to trust Jesus, they'll get a chance to go and do that, while those groups break off, and one group will go to eat and one group will go to do activities. On the backside of eating and activities, they'll do another small group. And the goal there is that they will testimony and questions. So on the backside, we want them to speak what God has done in their life and during VBS. So we want them to speak how they know God is real. We want them to speak how they know they can trust the Bible. We want them to speak what the resurrection of Jesus means in their life, right? Like those are the 3 nights we'll actually have small groups. And then we want them to have a chance to voice any questions that they have. And so that small group packet is going to walk through what each of those nights look like, so that you can get that into the hands of your small group leaders early so they can prep as much as they need to and want to and be ready to go. The other packet you'll have is the activities packet, which again is kind of going to be a morph between activities and crafts, but it'll all be in an area where kids will get to go there and just choose what they do. Or actually more appropriately, they'll probably move small group by small group. So the small groups, it'll be like a camp setting where individual kids don't run everywhere. Instead, your small group moves and does activities together, if that makes sense. So any questions about, I have some of you who are new on the call, so wanted to kind of review that format. Any questions about that format or any of the packets that are coming in the next 2 weeks? Okay, man. I really hope I'm just a really good explainer, because it's those surprise questions 2 weeks before VBS that always catch me by surprise. So what are your jobs? What's your job the next 2 weeks? Number 1, recruit the mess out of folks to come and serve at VBS. Again, message to Little Life volunteers, message to Youth Middle volunteers, message to Kid Life volunteers, message to youth volunteers. Again, like you ask security folks, because again, they've already cleared. And so if they come and do a role that's not security, they still have been ministry safe approved. And so think through as many as you can, because again, take your expected attendance, right? And I'm talking about unique attenders, not just your average attendance, like how many unique attenders do you think you're going to have? Divide that by 10, and now you've got the number of small group leaders you need. In addition to that, you need folks who participate on the worship team. In addition to that, you need folks who run your activities. Again, as long as we stay in small groups, those activities can be run by the leaders of small groups. But again, like you all know this, VBS takes a mess load of volunteers, and that is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because VBS is the gateway drug to kid life. It's just a great way for people to get their feet wet in doing it. So you just need to be, again, recruiting the mess out of folks. And newlifechurch.tv/VBS is the place they can go to sign up. Here's the other thing is schedule a volunteer interest meeting and start that ministry safe sprint. And correct me if I'm wrong about this, Kelsey, for West Little Rock, we're going to start May 7th, and then basically every 2 weeks, we're meeting after church. So May 7th, we have our initial volunteer meeting. May 21st, we have a work night and, again, training. And then June 4th, we have another work night. And then June 10th, which is a Saturday, we have setup. And so those are our meetings, but all set up so that we get folks trained and ready to go. So make sure that you get your schedule like slots down so you can start telling people so they can get it on their calendar and help where they're able. I have 4 weeks ago, we had a question and I didn't have the answer then, and I'm giving you my best answer now, and that is, hey, what's the percentage breakdown of a VBS budget? Like, where should you spend money on a VBS budget? Again, it's gonna depend on, what's up, cat? It's gonna depend on just different things. But if you'll look, I've got, this is my best guesses, and this is if you're giving t-shirts away. If you are giving your t-shirts away, that's going to be 30 to 40% of your budget. Like, that's just how much, I mean, because you're talking about $6 a kid, $6 a volunteer. And so it's going to be 30 to 40% of your budget. You're going to feed every person. And so I think food being 20% is if we didn't have generous support of Dairy Queen. But even then, food still takes up a fair amount of your budget, just because, again, anything you're doing for everybody, it gets expensive real fast. 15% for decor, because, and here's why I say spend so much on decor, is because it's the only thing your parents see. And so you want the experience to be great for your kids, but you want your parents to know that the kids had an amazing time. And so the only thing they get to really see and experience is your decor. And so make sure that your decor is excellent. In addition to that, you're going to spend about 10% on stage and prizes. You're going to spend, 0 to 10% on extra merch to either give away. Like, the reason I said 0 to 10% is because it depends on, are you giving it away or are you selling it? If you're selling it, you hope to get that money back. If not, it's a good activities, about 15%. And promo, just prints and everything, you're going to spend about 10%. And so any questions on what we're up to the next 2 weeks and those percentages of a VBS budget?
Hey, Kevin, how much did you say on food percentage-wise?
20%.
And on stage, you said 10.
10, yep. Because, again, anything you're spending money on every single person, it just takes a larger portion of your budget.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Hey, thanks for your questions, Sonia. That makes me feel like people are engaged and listening. Anybody else? Okay.
I do have one more thing, Kevin, but It's not related to the budget because I didn't hear the part about, because in my mind, a small group is a color team.
Okay. So let me explain this to you. If you do that, Sonia, you're going to have about 10 to 15 colors. And so instead, do like you normally do, where you're going to cut up like color teams. So you still have green, blue, and yellow, or whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
But because we're doing things a little bit different in that everybody ends with small groups, you can't do 3 groups anymore. You have to either do 4 or 2. Because half your folks are going to go eat and half your folks are going to go and do activities. And so you have to figure out how to split them down the middle. Now, if you want to have 2 that are over here and 2 that are over, that's fine. But then what I would do is like do animals or do other things, right? So do So we're doing blue and yellow, right? So do blue lions and blue seals and blue birds and blue jays and yellow lions and yellow tigers and yellow, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so all your small groups, because then you have everybody's the same color, but you still, every small group still has kind of an identity. And let your small group leaders figure that out for themselves. Don't bequeath them an identity. Have them come up with it themselves, or ask their kids night one. Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So do you need color team leaders and small group leaders?
That's a great question. So here's the interesting thing: is your color team leaders are going to be much more like floaters. So you're like, we're going to have a place where blue gets dropped off and a place where yellow gets dropped off. And we're going to have small group leaders. They're going to get assigned folks as they come in by the color team leader. But that color team leader is then floating. And if they see a group having a hard time, they may hop in and rescue. Or if they see someone acing it, they may kind of hover over there. So at the end of the night, they could be like, man, that Matt just killed it. And here's what he did that was so good. So again, they're not going to be with kids. They're going to be leading leaders. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the plan.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah. Anytime. Other questions? We got 7 minutes.
Kevin, did you say you're mixing boys and girls together in those small groups?
Yes, and here's why. Because the presence of a girl brings the behavior of the boys up immediately. And just by mixing them. And we're at the age where chances are there's not like middle school, you're definitely going to want to split them. Upper grades, 6th grade, 5th grade, you might split them. But definitely in the lower grades, keep them mixed. Because, again, there's not going to be a topic that's going to come up where a boy's not going to share because a girl's in the group. We're just not in that season of ministry yet. And so that it's going to only help your groups. It's not going to hurt them in any way. Okay, this is great. I love questions. Any other questions? Okay. Cool. I've got you on the call. We've got 6 minutes, and so real quick, 100% disclosure. We haven't picked worship songs yet, and so what that means is that you actually have a chance right now to express your opinion on the matter. And so again, confidence is kind of what we're trying to build in the kids during VBS. Confidence in creation, confidence in God's word, confidence in Jesus and his resurrection, and then confidence against culture. And so, can you all think, especially fast songs, can you all think of fast songs that would work in VBS? That we already have, or songs that we could add? And you're going to have to speak it because I can't see the comments.
I don't have any that are coming to my head, but I feel like we are in desperate need of new worship songs just because we overplay ours.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have a good, strong group of kids that know the motions.
Nice. Well, I don't
know
if
we do something new.
I don't know if you know this, but we've put out 2 new ones, and we've already recorded 3 others. I just have to get them edited, and so you've got 5 new ones coming.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And that is Glorious Day, Backseat Driver, I Thank God, Alive by Hillsong Young and Free, and a 4th one that escapes me. So.
Was it Jesus? Wait, you've already done Jesus? What a Friend.
We've already done, right? Jesus, What a Friend. Yeah. Okay. 4 minutes. Any other? And here's the interesting thing about that, Jamie, is finding new worship songs is a challenge. because there's this weird thing that's happening just with worship music in general, where every worship song, nobody gets into the fast lane, where it's like bumping and the old Hillsong Young and Free, like where it's got a driving beat. Everybody's hitting this weird medium place where they're not quite fast and they're not quite slow. And so it's hard for us to do what we do with them. And so, I mean, like I literally over the last 2 years have found like 2 songs that I'm even interested in doing. And they're both very interesting songs that my kids found. And so one is called Always Enough, and the other is Elevation Rhythm. And they have a song called Praises, which honestly is more like a pep rally cheer than it is a song. It's again, Christian music is in a weird place. Just weird for us, not weird for them. Okay, 2.5 minutes. Any other worship songs, ideas, or any other questions?
Have we hit the mark that we can start going back and doing like the old 90s songs yet?
Only if we had the musical ability to redo them. Like one way.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, maybe. We could definitely give it a shot. So tell me this then. Most popular worship songs for your kids. Let's do it this way. What worship songs right now do your kids love? For us, it's Wake and it's Endless Praise. Our kids love Wake and Endless Praise. And Highland's version of Real Love. What about you guys? What are your kids digging?
GLR is doing Shaking Me Without You right now, and they love those.
Nice. Me Without You. Okay. Anybody else?
Ours like Wave Walker.
I like it. I don't think I've given Wave Walker a good enough chance. Okay. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for your time. And again, we'll post this up and we'll do it again in 2 weeks, which will be May. It'll be May, y'all. It'll be crazy. It'll be May 7th. Nuts. May 7th. Okay. All right, y'all. Have a good evening. Bye, guys.